In the mid-20th century, the world's oceans carried thousands of ships every day, most of them never drawing attention. One such vessel followed a routine route, carrying cargo across familiar waters. Weather reports at the time indicated no major storms or unusual conditions. Then, without warning, routine radio communications ceased. No distress call was logged, and no emergency signal was recorded. When scheduled check-ins were missed, concern began to spread among operators. The route itself was well known and heavily traveled by commercial traffic. The ship's absence stood out precisely because nothing else seemed out of place. Records placed the vessel within a zone considered low risk by maritime standards. Early checks revealed no debris, oil, or visible signs of an accident. Historically, ships were most vulnerable to storms, collisions, or onboard mechanical failure. Vessels of this period were robust but relied heavily on manual systems and limited automation. A single critical failure could compromise propulsion, power, or communication. A single critical failure could compromise propulsion, power, or communication. Radio systems of the time were vulnerable to damage and signal loss. What puzzled investigators was the lack of any warning before contact ended. Maritime authorities prepared to initiate search procedures. The sheer scale of the ocean immediately complicated any recovery effort. Nearby ships were alerted and asked to remain vigilant. Hours passed without any confirmed sighting. With each passing hour, uncertainty replaced initial assumptions. No single explanation fit the limited evidence available. What began as a routine voyage was becoming an enduring maritime mystery. By the end of the first search phase, the ship had vanished without trace. No single explanation fit the limited evidence available. What began as a routine voyage was becoming an enduring maritime mystery. By the end of the first search phase, the ship had vanished without trace. The mystery would only deepen as investigators examined what could have gone wrong. As days passed, the search radius expanded well beyond the last reported position. Aircraft were deployed to cover distances impossible for ships alone. Despite extensive coverage, the sea revealed nothing unusual. Records showed no hazardous cargo that could easily explain a sudden disaster. Investigators examined the possibility of onboard fire, though no signal supported it. Structural failure was considered unlikely given the vessel's design and conditions. A collision with another vessel would normally leave debris or witnesses. Attention briefly turned to underwater hazards, though charts showed no known threats. Archived weather data confirmed conditions remained stable throughout the period. Investigators narrowed the timeline to a short and unexplained interval. The absence of distress communication remained the central, unresolved issue. No evidence suggested crew unrest or operational error before contact ended. Navigation logs showed consistent heading and speed. As resources were stretched, the search gradually lost intensity. Eventually, active searching was suspended without resolution. Official reports concluded with limited findings and open questions. Years passed, but no new evidence emerged. Technology at the time limited detection beneath the ocean surface. Investigators resisted unsupported theories without physical evidence. Periodic reviews revisited the case as technology improved. Even with modern tools, nothing conclusive was found. The absence of answers became the defining feature of the case. After decades, the ship remained officially missing. 77 years later, the case remains unresolved. The final question was no longer what happened, but what could ever be known. Today, the same waters remain of active shipping routes, largely unchanged in appearance. Modern sonar and satellite systems have transformed how ships are tracked and located. Yet technology cannot recover evidence that time and distance have already erased. Much of the seafloor remains unmapped, even in heavily traveled regions. Investigators rely on probability models rather than definitive conclusions. Sudden mechanical failure combined with rapid flooding remains one leading explanation. In deep water, wreckage can sink beyond practical recovery depth. Decades of currents and corrosion further reduce the chance of discovery. Officially, the case remains open, but inactive. The incident influenced later improvements in tracking and emergency communication. Today, constant monitoring reduces the likelihood of total disappearance. Still, absolute certainty at sea remains rare. The silent ship is now studied as a lesson in uncertainty. No discovery has provided a definitive explanation. The absence of evidence has preserved the mystery across generations. 77 years later, the ocean holds its silence. Some stories at sea conclude without answers. And in that silence, the mystery endures.